Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Capital Edge Tip Line. I'm Chad Braley, the CEO at Capital Edge. And this week, we're going to talk a little bit about the Munitions Acquisition Framework. And the Munitions Acquisition Framework, and we're seeing some others in other areas from the Department of War, is really something to support the defense industrial base with better visibility, and obviously to support the Department of War with additional capacity. And one of the things, and I've talked about on one of the other tip lines, there's a concern, right? We've got aging equipment. We may have workforce shortages, right? We've seen the executive order from January 6th or 7th on prioritizing the warfighter and defense contracting, and really targeting companies that are doing stock buybacks and having excess earnings and dividends, and not necessarily reinvesting in their businesses, and expanding capacity, expanding capability, and things of that nature. And I think the framework, right? This munitions acquisition framework, which has been publicly discussed, right, in the press releases, is really looking to they're talking about more like 7-year contracts with better visibility into quantities, right? Expectations, at least from a minimum perspective, um, to encourage, right, companies um, to invest in meeting those requirements, right? There's even a division within the Department of War that will provide, can provide, financing if you need to go there for capacity expansion or additional capital equipment and capex purchases and things like that. But it's going to be, I think, interesting how, right, this kind of plays out. But I think the initial framework, right, at least which is publicly available, is really looking to expand capacity, having both primes and all the way down the supply chain, right? Because everything, the end assembly has a million different components that come down to the supply chain, and that's, I think, one of the challenges, especially for the second, the third tier subcontractor, who is certainly would be happy to accept larger orders, but would like visibility into that, right? And it looks like the government is willing to provide more of that visibility so that you can plan on what that investment might be, and right, expect to get a return on that investment, through increased quantities and better definition within the contracts. And from what we're hearing, there's also going to be some more extensive reporting requirements in some of these. Don't have all of the details of that yet, but it's kind of interesting because what I've kind of been hearing is that we have some additional, what I think are rather extensive reporting requirements, right, at a project level, while at the same time we talk about reducing reporting and regulation in other areas. So while certain things go away, certain things seem to be coming back in these contracts. It looks like, at least what's been publicly released, is the contract types are going to be fixed price or fixed price incentive fee, and again, up to 7-year terms. So for those of you, right, and obviously, with everything going on in the world, right, I would expect the munitions acquisition framework to be something that is being somewhat fast tracked and utilized within the defense industrial base, just based on current events. So, keep a lookout for that. Keep a lookout for some potentially different requirements that may impact your financial reporting, may impact your compliance posture, and be cognizant of those in the contracts, right? How far some of these things kind of flow down the supply chain will be interesting. At the same time, we have the challenge of can I make more of this potentially commercial? Can I buy more commercial? But it's all I can say is it's going to be interesting. But if you're in that world, certainly be cognizant of what you might be hearing from either the government if you're the prime, or if you're the second or third tier subcontractor, what you're hearing from your higher tier subcontractor about how some things may look different moving forward. But at the same time, if um, production needs to increase. That's not necessarily a bad thing, but there's going to have to be certainly investments made in order to accomplish that. So we'll see how this all plays out, and as more information becomes publicly available, we'll certainly be back to share that with you. So again, any other topics that the audience here might be interested in us addressing or talking about, or any feedback that you have, we certainly welcome that. And until next time, take care.